Hi, this is Annie Grace, and welcome to this Naked Mind podcast. I am so glad you're here. So today I just wanted to talk about something that's kind of been in my mind and on my heart. I actually spent the last few days in Nashville, Tennessee. I was speaking at a conference of 1,000 women. It's called Lady Boss Live, and it was an incredible conference. Lady Boss is a weight loss program that really focuses on the foundation of helping people not only lose weight, but do it by loving themselves, accepting themselves, and really transforming themselves so that the crutch that they're going for, food, is not central to their lives. So Lady Boss and This Naked Mind have just so much in common. And I was actually there to speak about the neuroscience of hacking your sugar cravings, which is exciting, and I'm going to put on a future podcast sometime soon. But when I was back there was another speaker. His name is Myron Golden, and I am totally going to have Myron as a guest for our podcast because he has just such an incredible story. And we were in the green room where the speakers were before going on stage, and he's telling me, he's like, Annie, I love what you do. I just love it so much. You know, I quit drinking when I was 11. And I'm like, wait, what? When you were 11? When did you start? And he goes, honestly, I don't remember. It was probably around 2 or 3, because in our household, having beer around was as normal as having a Coke. My dad encouraged us to have a beer, with dinner, from as soon as we were drinking anything. There was no exception to that. And he went on to tell me a story about the dark side of alcohol. And he told me about, some pretty horrific things that happened in his life. And I'm not going to go into them here because I want to have him on the podcast so he can share them with you himself. And he goes, so when I was 11, when I was finally old enough to have, what did I want in my life? How did I want my life to be different? I actually quit drinking. And I said, wow, that's so powerful to have that kind of self-knowledge at 11. And this person, Myron, is just a crazy, insane, amazing human being. He's one of these people that you meet and he literally changes lives. He's a motivational speaker. He's absolutely amazing. And so to have that awareness at 11, and I said, what made that choice for you? Why did you do that? Why did you quit at 11? And he goes, the main reason for me was that the ugly side of alcohol was so much uglier than the pretty side of alcohol was pretty. And he goes, the entirety of the pretty side of alcohol comes from people who want to sell you alcohol. They make it pretty, and then it infuses itself into our society as a profit-generating machine, which then we try to make glamorous because that's what we've been programmed to do through the media, through Hollywood, through society. And so we go on to perpetuate this idea that drinking is sexy, drinking is glamorous, drinking is fun, that alcohol has a place in upper crust society, that alcohol has a place at every single sporting event. And the crazy thing about it is that no matter how good or how many billions of dollars are paid to make alcohol look good, it can never, ever, if you were to put it on scales and you had on one side of the set of scales, you had how good alcohol can look to people, how glamorous, how sexy, what's the pretty side, right? What's the martini? What's the Marilyn Monroe with her drink? What's the 007 shaken not stirred? What's the pretty side of alcohol? And then you had on the other side, what's the ugly side of alcohol? He's like, even though, and Myron teaches a lot of Bible-based stuff, he goes, even though there is drinking in the Bible, and even though I don't think that drinking is necessarily biblically wrong, he goes, the ugly side of alcohol is so much uglier. The scales, it's not even fair. I mean, they just tip so far because the ugly side of alcohol, and I went and I kind of looked up some things just to drive this point home. Alcohol is involved there's alcohol found in the body of 70% of suicide victims. 70% of suicide victims were somewhat intoxicated when they decided to take their own lives. Okay? 80 to 90% of childhood deaths from abuse are because the parent is drunk. 80 to 90%. 51% of rapes have alcohol involved. And the list goes on and on and on. And there was this study that just came out that confirmed that alcohol among people, healthy individuals aged 15 to 59, is the number one killer in the world globally. Number one. And it's really interesting because that study came out and it got this blip of press, and then this whole slew of counter articles came out, and they were all by, you could tell they were written the same, they were all by the same people. They just came out and that message got buried because there's so much money in alcohol. We try to bury it so deeply because we don't want people to know that the ugly side is so incredibly ugly. So we try to keep people as a society deceived into believing that alcohol is somehow pretty, that alcohol is somehow good, that alcohol has merit, that it is glamorous, that it is sexy. And wow, I was just blown away because I knew this. I knew that the ugly side of alcohol was ugly. I remember when I was writing This Naked Mind and doing the research for it, how devastating it was to find out some of these truths about this substance that are widely, we spend more money on alcohol than we do any other beverage, hands down. And we consume, adults consume more alcohol than any other beverage, and, aside from hopefully water. And so I spent all this time researching this, going into these details and really trying to understand, okay, how is it that this is covered up? How is it that this is so bad and so negative and so intense? And nobody knows. Nobody knows. And we need to just wake up to this. And this is like a brutal episode because I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes I really try to stay away from being the anti-alcohol evangelist because I know that's not where people want to start. And especially when we see alcohol as our only friend. I know I did when I relied on it as a crutch for literally just about anything, when I used it to self-medicate all my pain away, when I was using it to network, when I was using it to have fun, have a good time, all of these things. If somebody would have told me something bad about alcohol, I couldn't actually take it in. I couldn't actually hear it because hearing it meant that I had to make a change, and I had no idea how to change. So hearing negative information about alcohol was incredibly painful for me. Now, there was some benefit, is it did keep working on me, this information, to the point where at some point I was like, okay, the pain of knowing some of this stuff is enough that I'm really realizing that I do need to change, and I'm excited about making a change. And I think I moved from a place of absolute fear of change to some hope of change. And so I really tried to keep my work in that hope space, talk about the benefits of not drinking, how incredible life can be when you're just totally free, and when all the noise in your head goes away about drinking, and when it's more effortless not to drink than it ever was to drink. When that happens again, when you find complete freedom like a child from alcohol, that hope, that hope that totally is possible for people is what I want to focus my work on. But sometimes you hear a story like Myron's, and sometimes you just can't help but speak up because, wow, the ugliness of what alcohol causes, the death, the destruction, the abuse, the heartache is so, so, so ugly. And it doesn't hold a candle. The scales are not even, they're not balanced. It doesn't even hold a single minute of comparison to what we have falsely built up as the beauty of drinking. And I just think that that is something that sometimes, no matter how positive I want to keep it, sometimes just needs to be said, and sometimes needs to be said out loud. So this one is short and probably pretty not sweet, probably a little bit brutal and intense, but it's something I couldn't not say. And so I just wanted to say that to you today. And I thank you so much for listening. It means the world to me. And just congratulations. Congratulations for being here, for listening to this, because listening to this, you are changing things, not only for yourself, but for everybody in your family and everybody around you. And that's the only way this is going to happen, is by this powerful, dedicated minority of people continuing to just know and discover the truth. So have a great day. This has been Annie Grace with This Naked Mind podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can learn more at thisnakedmind.com. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe, as it really helps us spread the word.